Greetings, family. I was having some technical difficulties earlier. Um, Let me just ensure I am. Uh-oh. I just received a notice about low quality. um, However, I think that we shall persist. Okay, perfect. All right, everyone. Let's see, where am I? All right. I am going to be recording this live. So we are doing a bunch of things at once. But let me go ahead and introduce myself to you all. I am Cassandra Danielle of the Marin family. and I'm very nervous actually about today's presentation because it is a little deep per se. Let's just jump into it. So actually, I decided to form a study group because I had developed a strong interest in researching the laws that surround estate planning and just my estate in general, and my affairs. And as I began to research everything that pertained to my affairs and just understanding what my affairs were, I came to realize that the load is tremendous, right? Many of the things that I've been studying, people pay lots of money and spend many years dedicating to just the study itself. So, not only did I want to find other people who were interested in their estate and managing their own affairs, I'm also just looking for people who knows what's up. Like, what's up? Anywho, let us move on here. Okay, so I am the organizer of Seekers Study Group. Okay, I do not own it. I am not in charge. I just offer my service to the group in the hopes that like-minded people will assemble um, to do the work. I facilitate study sessions and connect like minded people. I am not your teacher. I am not your advisor, coach, or your representative. Um, the information is totally foreign to me. Although I do have experience and knowledge in conveying information, that's usually information that that I understand. So I do not want to assert myself as if I know it and someone else doesn't, because every day I'm studying, my understanding is like taking shape and molding. All right, Seekers Study Group, estate planning and management and exchange of intellectual property. Um, on Mondays, we meet and exchange discoveries in the following subjects. So these are just a really short list of subjects that have come up in my study and that I would like to further study. And it begins with estate planning and management, legal procedure, contracts and agreements, assets and liabilities, and household accounting. All right, so the objective of the group is to empower natural persons to handle your own affairs and to stay in honor. And there may be certain words that come up in this presentation that you don't quite understand or how they apply to you. And if you are interested in understanding why I brought up these terms and how they apply to you, please join our group. Join our group. Okay, let me see here. Um, Give me just a moment. Okay. Onward. Wait, did I read everything? No, I didn't. Okay. Statutes require that we understand what we have consented to. And that and in cases that we don't understand, we have to hire someone else to stand in our place. And what I have discovered is that is not necessary, that myself and we all are full within our right to manage our own affairs and to be an agent. All right, let's continue. All right, so I don't want us to get very deep into the research. Initially, I kind of just want to shed light to anyone who thinks that they're interested, but they aren't quite sure if they're interested. I would like to give anyone who has even just a peak of interest more information into what the purpose of this group is. All right, so what you might ask yourself is, do I have an estate? And that word estate, for some reason, we just apply it to people that we think are rich or wealthy or have lots of things. Um, However, we don't understand how that word truly connects to us. So let's take a look. Firstly, there are two sources by which I have taken definitions for this presentation. The first is Cornell Law. You guys can visit their website. In fact, when you go in to research certain terms, you always want to look for the legal definition. As you begin to take over your estate and your affairs, and you begin to learn different aspects of the legal system, you will come to find out that words don't mean what you think that they mean. Um, so it is very important to firstly go slow and to look up any word you don't know the definition to, or if it tells you there's a definition, or if you don't have some kind of concrete understanding of what's being said. And in most cases, you should still look up the definition. But again, we don't want to just look up the definition up in Merriam's, okay, and Webster's, because Webster's been distracting us for a little bit. All right, so we want to find the sources that are going to give us the insight that we need to manage our estates. So here, this is again from Cornell Law. An estate is described as the total property, real or personal, owned by an individual prior to distribution through a trust or will. All right. So I didn't read any indication of something that says only outward, obviously, rich people have estates. It looks like it is the summation of all of your property. And what we don't know is that the state is keeping a very close count of all of our property so neatly. The accounting is amazing. However, we have no track whatsoever of our property, and we don't even understand what property is. All right, so let's see here. Don't worry, we're going to look at another definition of estate, but let's keep moving. Oh, I have these arrows here because firstly, we see property is underlined. We see real is underlined, personal, trust, will. A thing about legal documents, many times what they should do is disclose the terms. And that's what's being done here. It's being disclosed that property, real, personal, trust, and will have definitions specific to this particular definition of estate. And you might read another statute that discusses estate, but it has a whole nother set of parameters. Um, that's another reason why I say go slow. So, for the purposes of this presentation, I wanted us to take a look at the definitions of estate planning and estate trust. And on the website, you can literally click it, and it'll bring you directly there. All right. So, estate planning. Estate planning is the process by which an individual or family arranges the transfer of assets in anticipation of death. Okay, so let's just stop right there for a second. Okay, your estate planning is how prepared are you for your property to be transferred to your loved ones when it is time? Do you understand the process by which your property is transferred to those who survive you? Do you have a list of all your property so that you can make a plan for how your property or your estate or your trust will be distributed to those who you love and those who survive you? I'm going to jump down a little bit inside of the group. My hope is that during our sessions, we will literally take this line by line and really tear it apart and get to the core of its meaning as we move through different topics and concepts. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to bounce around a bit. Uh, let's see. Down here it says will, oh, no, not, let's not go into those. An estate is the total property, again, real and personal, owned by an individual prior to the distribution through a trust or a will. And it gives you some examples here. We have cars, homes, which land, household items. These are the things that you commonly think about when you think of passing it down to your descendants. But we also have bank accounts. Any and every account that has your name on it, I'm going to say should be your property. And if it isn't your property, it isn't your property because you gave someone else consent to claim it or you abandoned it. So again, I don't want to get too deep, but we need to understand what property is, because when we don't know that we have property, we are not maintaining it. We aren't fulfilling the obligations attached to it. So when we don't, when we aren't good stewards over our property, the state has put provisions in place for that. And when we think about abandoned property, for anyone who's ever heard of that rule, where you can claim some abandoned property as long as you are putting it to use and you are doing so in a public manner, along with a couple other requirements, the same applies to your intangible property. But let's continue. On the side, I have provided a little definition of property, which is property is anything. Property is anything, items or attributes, tangible or intangible. Okay, so you could also think about that like seen and unseen. Um, that can be owned by a person or entity. Property is the most complete right to something the owner can possess, use, transfer, or dispose of. So, as an owner of property, it is your obligation to do one of these that are listed, either to possess it, to use it, to transfer it, or to dispose of it. All right, the second word that was attached to our original definition of estates was estates and trusts. During the early 1500s in England. Okay, so another aspect of that I have found in learning about my estate is that it's a mashup of a lot of things. Okay, it's a mashup of finance, accounting, um, and then you have here history. Things happen, events occur, and those events prompt change and clarification. Okay, um, during the early 1500s in England, landowners found it advantageous to convey the legal title of their land. Convey means transfer, to third parties while retaining the benefits of ownership, because they were not the real owners of the land. And wealth was primarily measured by the amount of land owned. They were immune from predators and may have absolved themselves of some feudal obligation. So this is shedding some light into the trust and the structure of the trust. Um, and I'm not going to go too much into that, but this is giving us a little history as to what led to the popularity, I'll say, or and the adoption of all these trusts we see up everywhere. All right. So this is the second source that we're using to identify the definition of these legal terms. This is the lawdictionary.org. They do feature Black's Law Dictionary, which is a very highly referenced dictionary in the legal world. All right. So here we have estate. So, firstly, um, here you'll see I have some things underlined and some things not underlined. And the portion that I have not underlined is describing different court cases that have happened over the years that relate to this subject type and that most likely contributed to the overall acceptance of what it means in the legal world. So let's go slow. Again, we're reading about estate and we're learning about what an estate is. The interest which anyone has in land or in any other subject of property. Okay, so question number one, what is interest? Do we know what interest is? Let's ask ourselves. Then we're going down here. An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as the tenant has therein. And then we have another reference here. The condition or circumstances in which the owner stands with regard to his property. Even though we covered a light definition, we want further clarification. Property, why not spell that correctly? Oh, all right. All right, so within that definition, we saw these other terms called tenements, an estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest. Okay, so let's find out what these two things are that are connected to estates. Hereditaments, tillings. Who knows what tillings mean? Again, that's another example of do I know what it means? If I don't, then you definitely want to make note of that. Feelings. Um, capable of being inherited, be it corporeal or incorporeal, real, personal, or mixed, and including not only lands and everything thereon, and may descend to the air together with land. So this is pertaining to heirs and inheritance. Tillings capable of being inherited. Then we have tenements. This term, in its vulgar acceptance, is only applied to houses and other buildings. But in its original proper legal sense, it signifies everything that may be holden, provided it be of a permanent nature. All right, I want to move down a little bit. We're jumping around. Uh, um, it says tenement is a word of greater extent than land, including not only land but rents, commons, and several other rights and interests issuing out of or concerning land. All right. So I was very hesitant about using this comparison because everyone has their own understanding of what a brand is, but your estate is like your brand. Um, And side note, while you over here using all of your time managing someone else's estate, someone else's brand, your estate is like wasting off to the side. And some have a brand that is successful, a brand outside of themselves, whether it be related to some sales of service or goods. Uh, that particular business is awesome, and the estate associated with it is well managed, but the estate connected to you and your name are not, and that is backwards. Okay, I think that we have been given a sort of advantage with all this exposure to LLC and starting up your own business because those principles are applicable to managing your estate, understanding the elements that go along with it, and the obligations that are tied to it. So your agreements and contracts, we make agreements and contracts every day. Um, Dictate your obligation in acquiring property. And many of us are not so clear about what those obligations are that are tied to the agreements that we make every day. Property is anything, items or attributes, tangible or intangible, that can be owned by a person or entity. Property is the most complete right to something. The owner can possess, use, transfer, or dispose of it. And here I have included a few different types of property. We have movable and immovable property. And the thing is, you might think that, oh, movable, immovable, that makes sense. But unfortunately, these words do not hold the most obvious meaning. So even when you think you understand something, it is the safest route to check and double check. We got tangible and intangible. We have private property and public property. Uh, we have personal property and real property. We have corporal property and incorporeal property. If your name is on it, I want to say you own it, or you hold some interest in it. But some of you have signed away all your rights, and the only thing that they left you with are all the obligations, as opposed to the benefits attached to the property that you own. All right, so I mentioned that your estate is like your brand. Um, so, what is the name? What is the name of your estate? Well, let's just do a little bit of research into what a name is. And you might find that to be elementary, right? Like, why is this girl doing research about what a name is? But when you start down this path, you realize that nothing means what you think it means in the legal sense. And that's where all of our obligations are tied up. That's where everyone is demanding that we perform in some kind of way, um, but we don't really know the implication of a name, and the purpose of a name, and the function of a name, and the function of our name as we understand it. right? So all these definitions came from Black's Law. Uh, just a tidbit: when you get on there, sometimes you see the word that you're looking for, and it gives a short definition. But then when you click on it, the heading changes. So what I did was I took the definitions, the initial definitions provided, because when you click on some of these topics here in Black's Law, they change. I don't know why. My best assumption would be because it correlates. So, for example, when I put in legal name, it popped up as you see right here. When I clicked it to get the extended definition, the title switched from legal name to legal system. And all of these little things are worth your attention. All right, so let's get back to this. Legal name, the term that is given to your first name and your last name. Middle names are considered to be immaterial. So, as it pertains to your legal name is a term, right? Look at that, the term. And the thing is, term also has multiple definitions, but we're not going too deep. We're just getting what we can. So, the term that is given to your first name and your last name. Okay. Now let's take a look at business name, a trade name, also known as a trading name, a name by which you engage in the activity of trading, right? We all trade, and we do that whether we have a registered business or not. Or a business name is the name which a business trades under for commercial purposes, although it's registered. Then we have here legal name. Hold on, hold on. Let's let that marinate for a second. So hold up. Does that mean that your legal name is also your business name? Okay, so if your legal name is your business name, then that means that there would have to be an alternative, right? Let's keep reading. Trade name. A trade name is a name which by user and reputation has acquired the property of indicating that a certain trade or occupation is carried on by a particular person. Let us continue. Isn't it funny though? It says it says for business name, a trade name. But why wouldn't trade name just be a trade name? It says a trade name, but this is just being defined. Let's continue. All right, so on the other side, look, we got more definitions for just figuring out what name means so that we can understand how that applies to us. We have surname. And the surname is the family name, the name over and above the Christian name, the part of a name which is not given in baptism, the last name, the name common to all members. Okay, so my surname, my family name is Marin. Okay, that is my family name, the name that all my family members share. Now, I bet y'all didn't know y'all had a Christian name. And the beautiful thing for me as a believer is just how amazing it is to see how scripture is all wrapped up into our legal system and how our legal system is truly based on scripture. Uh, if it all was a tree, scripture would be the roots and the bottom trunk, and everything else, the branches and the leaves would be everything that's sprung from the Bible. So I don't know what you claim, but you certainly got a Christian name. The baptismal name, distinct from the surname. It has been said from the bench, and I actually just learned that bench also means bank. So we're going to get in there. A Christian name may consist of a single letter. Okay, so my Christian name, or my given, also known as given name, the name that my parents gave me, uh, is Cassandra Danielle. Cassandra Danielle. As you guys read, your middle name, as it pertains to your legal name, um, is immaterial. However, my mother gave me two names, Cassandra Danielle. Okay, and it's important to know to have a distinction. Okay, let's see, corporate name. When a corporation is erected, a name is also given to it, or supposing none to be actually given, will attach to it by implication, and by that name alone. I ain't gonna lie to you, this definition right here, in my own time, I will spend some time breaking it down a bit so that I can gain a full comprehensive understanding of what I think that it means. I'm not going to go into what I think it means because it's also connected to some grander issues that we're just not going to get into right now. And then finally, we have just simply what is the definition of name. And then we have designation of an individual person or a firm or corporation. In law, a man cannot have more than one Christian name. Now, why is that important? Why did they put that in there? These are the questions I'm asking myself. All right, what is the significance? Is there a significance? Okay. Um, your estate is owned by your legal name. If you look at all of your property, whose name is it in? Is it in your given and your given and surname? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. It is in the name of your legal, I will call it legal identity. And if you didn't know that you were being divvied up in that way, then you should know. And if you didn't notice, legal name and business name kind of seem the same. And um, I'm not really here to tell you what's what. I'm here just shooting out a beacon, hoping that somebody sees it and wants to link up and study and sort these things out concretely. All right, so let's see. Owner legal. Now, if I showed you guys how many definitions popped up when I typed in owner this, owner that, owner this, owner that, all kind of different types of owners. But these are the two I want to share with you. Owner legal, the term that is given to the person who is recognized by law to be the rightful owner, not owner Christian, owner legal, as in legal owner, owner general, the term that is applied to a person who has the primary title to the property. So this can be either talking about possession, like who is in possession of the title, or whose legal name is listed on the title. And if we don't fall into one of those categories, I promise you somebody does. And the state has made it so that it's quite easy. It is quite easy for them and anyone else who's paying attention to take over your abandoned property because you didn't know it was property and you didn't know that it was making money. All right, this is our second to last slide. This slide went longer than I was expecting. So if you go to Black's Law the website, it's the lawdictionary.org. You scroll all the way down, you're gonna see something just like this. I copied and pasted it, and you can click each one. And I think this is a great place for people who are kind of curious, but not committed or anything like that. Just like, what did you say? That kind of makes sense. Go to this website, click these popular legal terms. I dare you, and you will be shocked. Okay, shocked by the definitions of these words. So, for instance, I will bring up one, which is driver. A driver. We all consider ourselves as drivers, I'm sure, but we don't actually fall into the category of a driver unless we work for Uber or Lyft or DoorDash or some company that's paying you to transport. So for me, what I ask myself is, well, I'm not a driver, and it makes sense that a driver would need a license, but for what purpose is it mandated that I have one if it's not my profession to drive? So just a little food for thought, everyone. I don't think I have any comments, but I will check and see. No, I have zero comments besides my own. So this was not as bad as I was thinking. But I will not hold you any further. I hope to see some of you guys later on today. We're gonna have an in-person meetup over at Pierre Bread in Village Commons, starting at 4 o'clock. And I will be reopening the room for anyone who wants to join in and maybe further the discussion that we started here. Again, remember, I am not your teacher, advisor, coach, or representative. I am your study partner, and I cannot wait for the discoveries that we will find. Until next time, family.